The citizens of Gaza cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony is, in all this, is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Bill Maher didn't hold back when he turned his sights on today's younger generation. He scolded them for what he sees as a tendency to bash America and blame the country for every global problem. Maher launched into a rapid-fire stream of sharp critiques aimed straight at woke youth culture, unrelenting and meant to provoke a reaction.
What Democrats did this year was finding their patriotism again. If you told me a year ago that if Kamala Harris would be the nominee and in her acceptance speech she would use the word privilege, I would not have guessed that she used it the way she did.
The greatest privilege on earth. The privilege and pride of being an American.
Yeah, and Tim Walz also began his speech with a great line saying, "We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country." And yet this message doesn't seem to be catching on with a lot of the younger people. None of them are standing up and screaming, "That's my country." Quite the reverse. Quite the reverse. The protests that started off as justice for Palestine have morphed into a broader kind of America is the problem. We the whole world.
The anti-American attitude among today's woke youth didn't just appear out of nowhere. It was passed down to them. They grew up surrounded by parents, teachers, and so-called intellectuals who often criticized the country relentlessly. Over time, that negativity took root. Now, many wear it like a badge of honor. We can't ignore the obvious hypocrisy either. Celebrities publicly threaten to leave the country whenever America doesn't meet their demands. Meanwhile, the younger generation enthusiastically supports controversial issues, whether it's pushing for strict abortion laws or demanding that biological men be allowed to compete in women's sports.
Pro-Palestine rally in Seattle, and when the rapper Macklemore said, "F America," everybody loved it.
Yeah, America.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a big hit with the Queers for Gaza crowd. Literally advocating for a government that would imprison you or kill you for being queer, from the safety and security of a country that doesn't do that.
Bill Maher doesn't hold back when calling out the younger woke generation's stance on the Middle East. He exposes their flawed reasoning, pointing out how they blame America for backing Israel, labeling the U.S. as the real terrorist, while ignoring the actions of Hamas, the very group they support. The irony is hard to miss. Despite proudly waving rainbow flags and advocating for LGBTQ+ rights, many of these activists seem unaware or unwilling to acknowledge that Hamas, if given the chance, would persecute or even harm them for who they are. Maher cuts through this delusion, showing how their reckless hatred of America aligns them with those who deny their very existence, making their position not only contradictory, but dangerously misguided.
Place in the world where a white guy from the suburbs could become a millionaire rapper, because here every person, regardless of race, class, or gender, has the right to be talent-free. And guess what document allows you to protest and chant, "Hey, hey, ho, ho," followed by something really stupid? Yeah, Constitution Day was last week. It's an actual federal holiday, but no one noticed, despite the fact that it's probably the greatest legal document ever. Is it flawed? Of course. It was written by humans, and they were all white men, as depicted in this illustration from Google AI.
Despite its imperfections, America remains one of the most free and opportunity-filled countries on the planet, something the younger woke generation often overlooks. No other place offers the same blend of security, elegance, and possibilities. The American dream isn't dead, it's alive and waiting. Yes, achieving it demands perseverance, sacrifice, and hard work, but anyone willing to commit can transform their circumstances. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a promise backed by the Constitution, crafted by our founders to safeguard liberty for generations to come, not to tear the country down.
Actual liberal ideas in it. I won't hold my breath for that because only 14% of 8th graders are proficient in history now, and only 22% in civics, which may be why 4 in 10 Gen Zers say the authors of the Constitution are best described as villains. Wow. It's amazing, since in 1776, James Monroe was 18, Alexander Hamilton was 21, and James Madison 25. Joe Biden was only 30.
One thing that always features in Bill Maher's critiques is his blunt take on President Joe Biden's advancing age. For quite some time, Maher has stood out as one of the few left-leaning commentators willing to say aloud what many quietly acknowledge. Biden isn't just getting older, he's clearly struggling. While Biden supporters have painted him as sharp, steady, and fully capable, Maher has stayed skeptical, pointing out the obvious gaffes, missteps, and moments of confusion that others tend to overlook. Whether you agree with him or not, Maher was sounding the alarm long before many in the public were ready to admit it.
Founders, they were the Gen Z of their day. And when they were your age, they started a country. What the fuck have you done? So no, the Constitution isn't perfect because it wasn't written by Taylor Swift, but... And yes, the founders made excruciating compromises, obviously slavery. But slavery was a deal breaker for the southern states. So there would have been 2 countries. And then to end slavery in North America, it would have involved invading a sovereign nation instead of having the moral high ground of keeping a union together. Would that have been better? History's complicated, and Gen Z reasoning is not.
Bill Maher really zeroes in on a major flaw he sees in the woke Gen Z mindset, their tendency to judge the founding fathers by today's moral standards. He points out how slavery is constantly used as a weapon against those early leaders, as if they should have somehow anticipated the 21st century while crafting a fragile new nation. Ma argues that the founders understood the immediate danger of trying to abolish slavery outright at that time. It could have torn the young country apart before it ever had a chance to survive. Sure, it wasn't morally perfect, but their choice to preserve the Union and allow for gradual progress was a strategic, calculated decision. The Constitution itself laid the groundwork for eventual freedom and progress, but woke Gen Z often ignores this nuance. Instead, they condemn the founders as outright villains, overlooking the ambitious, albeit imperfect, foundation that made today's liberties possible.
But they're really just simplistic. They know 2 things. White people did some very bad things, and no, that's it. That's all they do. That's what they know.
Absolutely, that's a sharp observation. Hollywood's influence on Gen Z's understanding of history is huge and often problematic. Movies and documentaries, even when fact-based, tend to prioritize emotional impact and storytelling over nuanced accuracy. They dramatize events to engage viewers, sometimes blurring the line between fact and fiction. When young people take these portrayals at face value, without applying critical thinking or digging deeper, it creates a distorted view of history. The complex realities get reduced to catchy slogans or simplified narratives that fit certain agendas, especially within woke culture. Bill Maher's critique of this dynamic is spot on. The danger isn't just in what's taught, but in how it's taught and consumed. When entertainment becomes the primary source of historical knowledge, it's easy for misconceptions to take root and spread. It highlights the need for better education that encourages questioning, context, and critical analysis rather than passive acceptance.
That too. But I also know other things. Like how in 1776, slavery was a lot like flying private today. If you could afford to, you would have done it too. Everybody did it, of all races, throughout history, in the Bible, and all over the world. If you hate George Washington for slavery, are you prepared to hate the woman king? Because her empire was built on it too. And where do you imagine is this place, outside of your brilliant, pure minds, that's so much better than America? At least America self-corrects, a mechanism for which was actually written into the Constitution.
Exactly. Context is everything. It's easy to judge historical figures by today's moral standards, but That often leads to unfair assessments. Slavery was indeed a global institution, deeply woven into the fabric of 18th century society, not just in America, but across many civilizations. The founders, while not perfect and certainly products of their time, took monumental steps by creating a constitution that laid the groundwork for a nation that could evolve beyond those norms. They set in motion ideas of liberty, justice, and equality that, though imperfect at the start, could be built upon and expanded. Instead of outright condemnation rooted in today's perspectives, recognizing the complexity and incremental progress they achieved helps us appreciate the foundation they gave us, Ishosa. It reminds us that progress is often messy and slow, but the willingness to create a framework for change was, in itself, revolutionary. This perspective encourages a more balanced and constructive dialogue about history and its lessons.
Cannot assemble in protest of their own government, cannot do or say what they want, or practice whatever religion they want, or have a free press. All rights guaranteed in just our First Amendment. The irony is, in all this, is that the world the founders birthed, flawed though it may be, provides the bedrock for everything that makes life good for the very people who hate them so much.
Absolutely. That irony is striking. Woke Gen Z enjoys freedoms that were hard-won over centuries, yet they often criticize the very system that guarantees those liberties. The right to protest, speak freely, and challenge authority is something many take for granted, but it's rooted in the Constitution crafted by the founders. Supporting regimes that actively suppress those same freedoms highlights a disconnect between ideals and reality. It's a paradox to champion free expression at home, but back governments abroad that silence dissent, restrict rights, and punish those who dare to speak up. Bill Mayer's point underscores the importance of understanding where our freedoms come from and recognizing the complexities involved in defending them, especially when confronted with uncomfortable truths about the world. It's a reminder that true progress requires both appreciation of history and a clear-eyed view of current realities.
Take for granted individual liberty, a Bill of Rights, the rule of law, checks and balances, getting a trial by jury, the peaceful transfer of power, protecting minority rights, and democracy itself. But those are the things that make our pampered, privileged, bratty lives so relatively cushy. No one starves here. Even our poor people are fat.
You nailed a crucial point there. Despite its flaws, the U.S. has an extensive, though imperfect, safety net that prevents the worst outcomes like starvation or lack of shelter for most people. The coordinated efforts of government programs, charities, and community organizations create a system where basic survival needs are, at least theoretically, accessible. Meanwhile, in many parts of the world, these fundamental needs, clean water, consistent food, shelter, are luxuries rather than guarantees. Yet some in Gen Z either overlook or downplay this reality, painting the U.S. as inherently flawed without acknowledging the relative privileges Americans have. Romanticizing societies where survival itself is uncertain ignores not only the hardships millions face globally, but also the progress and protections America offers. Recognizing this isn't about blind patriotism, it's about appreciating context and the complex reality of global inequalities. It's definitely something to be proud of, and a foundation to build on rather than dismiss.
Has to be bribed. Anyone can get rich. The cops are flawed, but we're not a police state. The drinks don't make you go blind, and no one pushes you out of a window for a bad Yelp review. Our government takes a lot and a lot, but it also gives a lot. Healthcare, retirement, money, unemployment, disability, college grants, food stamps. Maybe in the blissfully perspective-free mind, this all adds up to a low bar that America has reached. But you have to ask, why do millions of people every year risk their lives to come here?
In reality, America is far from perfect. It has its flaws, disagreements, and ongoing challenges. Yet despite this, its economic systems and institutions remain among the strongest in the world. That's why people continue to come here, not flee. For millions around the globe, America represents a dream, a chance at stability, freedom, and opportunity that would be impossible to find elsewhere. Just experiencing a small part of what we often take for granted would be incredibly costly for many. I know immigrant parents who have sacrificed everything, their careers, comfort, even safety, so their children can grow up here. They face hardships without complaint because they understand that the opportunities here far outweigh what they left behind. Because of America's enduring strength, people risk everything to be a part of it.